Hello, welcome back. So now in this part, we will discuss the theory of simple bending. Well, in this theory of simple bending, there is a very important equation which we generally use to design and analyze the beam element. So that equation is basically m by I, f by y, e by r. So this is a very important equation in the theory of bending, and using this equation, we can analyze and design the beam element. So for this equation, we are actually going to derive this equation. We will try to understand how this equation is formed in this form. So basically, we are going to derive this equation in this theory of simple bending. So now, first, we will try to understand the bending behavior of the beam. For example, this is a beam element, and to understand this bending behavior, we have marked uh, horizontal and vertical line on this beam. Now, the bending will occur, when the bending will occur on this beam, how these lines will be uh, varying. So here you can see this is the case of before deformation and after the deformation. Deformation means after the bending. When this beam is going to bend, what actually will happen to the fibers of the beam? Now, the fibers of the beam, if we consider them as vertical and horizontal line, then what actually will happen to these vertical and horizontal lines? So here, because of the bending, the beam is bending, and therefore all the horizontal lines in this beam which are marked there are becomes curved, and similarly the vertical lines on this beam under the effect of bending, they still are the straight line, but they are actually rotating. So if we try to show this thing in case of beam, so for example this is the beam, and because of the vertical load, the bending moment will develop at the ends. At the ends, it will try to bend something like this. So as you can see, this beams now is bending, and it actually becomes the curve of an imaginary circle. So for example, if there is an imaginary circle which has center somewhere here. So as we know that upper layer of the beam will be under compression and the lower layer of the beam will be under compression, and there will be a central layer, there will be a central layer which is passing through the centroid of this beam, and this central layer we are actually calling this as neutral layer or neutral axis. So upper line of the beam will compress, lower line of the beam will stretch, but this neutral layer or neutral axis, it will not compress and even it will not stretch. The length of the beam even after the bending will be same at this neutral axis. So therefore, if we consider as the beam is bending, so this bending of the beam is actually making a circular arc sector, and this circle is actually the imaginary circle. If we consider this as a circle which will be having a radius measured from the neutral axis, so this radius we can call this as r, and this actually is known as radius of curvature. So here, if we try to analyze or if we want to find out bending stress in the beam at any particular point, so for that generally we consider a very small section of the beam. For example, consider if we consider this small section, if we consider only this small section and try to analyze this section, then we can actually derive the relation of the bending, which is the bending equation. So here now I have given you some idea of this. Also, one more thing. if we consider this section, for example, if we consider section this one and section this one, so they will also be measured with reference to center up to this. Similarly here also, if we consider this second section, so this will also be measured as R, this will also be R, and the angle between them we can consider as d theta. Because of this bending of the beam, we have radius of curvature, we have the angle between these two assumed section on which we are going to analyze and try to find out the stresses. So the whole diagram I have made already. So this is the that part of the beam. So here we are taking some part of the beam and we are actually considering section MN and section PQ, which are separated at a distance dx. Okay, and this dotted line, it is actually showing the neutral axis. This is actually showing the neutral axis, which is passing through the centroid of the beam. Okay, so in this first diagram is basically the section of beam before bending, and this second diagram, it is actually after bending. So after bending, we have radius of curvature and also the angle between these two line section, which is MN and PQ. The angle between them becomes d theta. So now we will try to analyze this section with the process. So here, so as I said, in order to compute the bending stresses developed in the loaded beam, let us consider two cross section of beam MN and PQ. So here we are considering two cross section MN and PQ. We are going to consider these two cross section, and they are originally parallel, but after bending they subtend an angle which is the d theta. So here, when the beam is to bend, it is assumed that these sections remain parallel, MN and MN, because as per our assumption, the beam remains plane before bending and after bending. But still, there will be some very small angle which will be d theta. So therefore, when they subtend some angle d theta. Now here we are going to consider a fiber, because in the whole beam across this depth there will be variation in the stress in the bending, because above neutral axis we have compression, below neutral axis we have tension. So therefore here we will consider a fiber and we will analyze that fiber to find out the stresses. So for example, if we consider fiber EF, and if we want to find out the strain in this fiber, so this EF fiber is before bending. Now after bending, obviously we know that at the neutral axis, above neutral axis, it will be compression. So the fiber EF will compress. We know after bending, this fiber EF will compress. Here it is unchanged, but here it is changing and it is actually compressing. So we will name this as E dash F and F dash. So E dash F dash is the position after bending. Now here, as we know that change in the length in fiber of the fiber EF is occurring. So therefore we can find out the strain in this. Now also we know that at the neutral axis, the line length is unchanged. So for example, if I name this as CD, I name this as CD. So the CD line before bending and after bending, this CD will be same, but EF changes from, EF changes to E dash F dash after the bending. So now here, if we want to find out the strain in fiber EF, then we know that the formula for the strain is change in length upon original length. So the change in length will be E dash F dash minus EF because that is the final length and this is the original length. So this is how we find out the change in length. Similarly, original length is EF. So here we will write the relation. Change in length becomes EF minus E dash F dash. So this is the E dash F dash. So that becomes the change in length. EF is the original length, E dash F dash is the final length. So original minus final, that gets the change in length. Similarly, original length is the EF. Now, this EF can also be replaced as CD because we know that EF before bending is equivalent to CD, which is the length at the neutral axis level. So we can also write this as CD minus E dash F dash upon CD. So EF can be replaced by CD also. So here we will now try to find out what is the value of CD in terms of radius of curvature. Now, because we know that after bending, this beam is bent into an arc and which is having this angle d theta, and from the center it is measured as r d theta. So we know that at a circle sector, if we want to find out this length of sector, if we know the angle, say theta, and if we know the radius, say r, then we can find out this length. We can say, for example, this is length AB. So AB length in this case would be r theta. So this is how we can find out the length of sector, length of arc sector, if we know the radius of curvature and the theta. So here we are actually going to find out the value of CD, because CD is this length which is unchanged. Before bending and after bending, this length is unchanged. So CD here we can write as r into d theta, because we know that length of this arc sector can be calculated if we know the radius of curvature and the angle. So CD can be written as r d theta. Similarly, this is E dash F dash. So length from this to this, what will be this length? So this length will be r minus y. Now this fiber EF is at distance y from the neutral axis. So this radius of curvature becomes r minus y at the E dash F dash level. So we can write E dash F dash as r minus y into d theta. So now we know the value of CD and EF in terms of the radius of curvature and the angle subtended. So we can replace these value in this equation and we can find out further, we can solve it further. So CD is RD theta and E dash F dash is the R minus YD theta. So putting this value in this equation, we have CD equivalent to RD theta and E dash F dash equivalent to R minus Y D theta. Similarly, CD is R into D theta. So we can further solve it. So we get R D theta minus R D theta plus Y D theta divided by R d theta. So this will cancel out this one and this d theta will cancel out this one. So ultimately we get strain as y upon r. So solving this, we get strain is equals to y by r. Now what is y? Y is the distance measured from the neutral axis to the fiber where we are going to find out the strain. So with this relation, we can say that the strain in the fiber, strain in the beam in the fiber is directly proportional to the distance from the neutral axis, because we know that epsilon is equals to y by r. So that is how we can say this shows that strain of a fiber is proportional to its distance from the neutral axis. So therefore, we also know that above neutral axis, the strain will be of compressive nature, and below the neutral axis, it will be of tensile nature. So this is already discussed that below neutral axis, the beam will be under tension, and above neutral axis, the beam will be under compression. Now, till now we have discussed about the strain in the fiber. Now, if we want to find out the bending stress in fiber EF, now how can we find out that? We know that stress is equals to strain into elasticity. So this relation we already know from the last lecture, that stress is equals to strain into elasticity. Now here, if the stress is bending stress, which is F, so we can write F is equals to strain into elasticity. Now strain is epsilon and elasticity is E. Now we have just calculated the relation of epsilon in terms of Y and R. So here we can write F is equals to Y by R into E. So bending stress is equals to Y by R into E. So we can further solve this, and ultimately we get a equation which is F by Y is equals to E by R. So now you know that half of the bending equation is derived till now, which is in terms of stress, Young's modulus of elasticity, radius of curvature, and the distance from the neutral axis to the fiber where we are supposed to find out the bending stress or the strain. So till now we have derived half of the equation. Now we will move to uh, another step to derive the next half of the equation. So therefore, now we will first find out the magnitude of the longitudinal bending stresses, longitudinal or bending stresses. So how do we find out this magnitude of bending stresses? So that we will see. Now here, first we will consider section Mn, which is subjected to external bending moment M as the internal stresses. Now, how we are going to see, we will see that with the help of this diagram. So here, if we consider Mn section, we know that this is the line of neutral axis, and above neutral axis, the beam part is in under compression. So maximum compression will be at the topmost fiber. And as we go down, the compression intensity is low. So at this level, maximum compression is there, and at the neutral axis, zero compression is there. Similarly, if we go further down, then the tension intensity, tension force intensity is increasing, and at the lowermost level, tension force or tension stress is maximum. Now, this is happening because of this moment, and this moment is occurring because of the external load. So because of this moment, we have compression force, we have tension force, and for balancing we also know that C will be equals to T. For the balance or for the equilibrium condition, C will be equals to T. So here, as there is no external force, the sum of compressive force above neutral axis must be equal to tensile force from the below the neutral layer. So as I said, for equilibrium condition, C should be equals to T, which means C should be equals to T. Compression in the beam fiber above neutral axis should be equals to the tension below the neutral axis. So now here, if we want to find out, bending stress in a differential element in the beam. So here in the second diagram, you see the cross section of the beam. Now, if we want to find out bending stress at a differential area, at a very small elemental area in the beam, how do we do that? So we know that now if this differential area is at a distance y from the neutral axis, so therefore, can we find out the bending stress at this differential area? Yes, we can do that. So what is the compressive force exerted on this differential area? Now, compressive force is, we know that stress into area. We know force is equals to stress into area. So here the stress is F and area is the elemental area. So we can easily find out the compressive force of this elemental area, because it is because this elemental area is above neutral axis, so it obviously it will be subjected to the compressive force, and that will be F into dA. F is the stress or bending stress and dA is the differential area of that element. Now, if we can find out the compressive force on the elemental area, we can also find out compressive force on the total area, total compressive force on the area above neutral axis in this case. So how we can do that? We can simply do the integral, and the limit will be, now this neutral axis, sorry, this neutral axis is zero. I mean, y distance at this level is 0, and at this distance it is yc. So this is yc. So if we want to find out compressive force in this area, because we know that this whole area will be under compression. So how do we do that? We can do that using the integral. So integral limit is y is equals to 0 to y is equals to c, and the area of differential element, which is F into dA. So solving this, we can find out the uh, compression area. Similarly, if we want to find out the total tensile area, for that also we have to take differential element in the tensile region. For example, if we take this differential element in the tensile region, which is again at a distance y from the neutral axis, so we can do so on the same manner. So in this case, this becomes 0, and maximum stress will be at yt distance. So in this case, the integral become y is equals to 0 to yt, and F into dA. F is the bending stress. So now technically we know that C is equals to T, or even if we want to add C is equals to T, it will be 0. Why? Because C and T, they are of opposite direction. So if we want to add them, it will ultimately becomes 0 for the equilibrium condition. So therefore we know that C plus T is equals to 0, and therefore if we add this integral with this one, so we can say that y limit is from this to this. So this becomes yt to yc, and this is the same force in the differential element. So therefore, in this, if we further try to elaborate it, we know F is E by R into Y, which we have just derived in the last slide. So F, putting the value of F in this equation, we can have further. Now in this case, we know that F is equals to E by R into Y, and putting this value in this equation, then we write integral of yt to yc, which is the limit, and E by R y into dA. So this is how we elaborate it. Now, in this case, we know that this integral is equivalent to 0, but we know E by R cannot be 0 because E is the Young's modulus of elasticity and R is the radius of curvature. So both of these value cannot be 0. So this is what I have written here. E by R cannot be equals to 0. So therefore, y into dA should be 0, because ultimately C plus T is equals to 0. So here in the equation, y into dA, what is the meaning of y into dA? That we have to understand. Y is the distance from neutral axis, and dA is the differential area. Now, what is this integral? This integral is known as the sum of statical moments of all the differential area of the whole beam about Na, and its value is Ay. The total area of dA, if we integrate it, it becomes A. Similarly, the distance, this y becomes capital Y. Now, what is capital Y? capital Y is basically the distance of centroid of the cross section to with the neutral axis. So distance from neutral axis to the centroid is the Y. So here I have written A is the total cross sectional area and Y is the distance of centroid from neutral axis. So this is only the interpretation of this integral. So therefore Y is the distance of centroid from neutral axis and A is the total area of cross section. Now we know that it should be equals to 0. Now here also we know that area cannot be 0. We know as per this interpretation ay should be equals to 0, but in this case area cannot be 0 because we already know that there is some area which we are going to analyze. So ultimately y should be 0. Now what is the meaning of this? Y is equals to 0 means neutral axis, I mean distance between neutral axis and the centroid of the beam will be 0. It means neutral axis and centroid both line passes through the same line, which means they passes through the same line. So this becomes the centroid line as well as the neutral axis line. So with this derivation we concluded that neutral axis and centroid line of the element, they will pass through the same line. So now here we will try to find out the expression of bending moment. Now bending moment acting on the section Mn. Now we know that in the whole beam, because of this load, whole beam is under the bending, and this bending is ultimately cause the bending moment. So here we are only trying to analyze one section and we try to find out bending moment at this one section. So bending moment M acting on section Mn, which means that that section is this Mn. So if we want to find out Mn, I mean bending moment at section Mn, and this bending moment will be resisted by the internal moment set up by the unbalanced C and T force. So if this element is subjected to external force, it will obviously create the bending moment in the beam, and this bending moment will be balanced by the internal moment set up in the beam section. We will try to understand this in more detail on the next diagram. This internal moment which will balance the bending moment due to the external force, this internal moment is known as moment of resistance, or in other term it is known as the strength of beam. Now we will try to understand this with the help of diagram. Now here, for example, this is the beam. Sorry, this is the beam subjected to a vertical load, say W. Now because of this W load, beam is bending, and in this process of bending, the fiber of the beam above neutral axis, they are going to compress. Similarly, in this beam below neutral axis, they are trying to stretch. Now this is happening because of this external load. Now when it is trying to compress, the beam internally will oppose this compression, and therefore it will offer the opposite reaction. As this is the compression going inward, against this beam will offer a reaction in the form of outward reaction. So they will try to go like this. Similarly, tension is going outward, so against the tension the fiber will try to go inward like this. So this is because of the action and this is because of the reaction. So the moment created by this is called external moment, and because this moment is resisted by the internal fibers of the beam, so this will be termed as MR, moment of resistance. Now how this moment of resistance and bending is occurring, so this this diagram will further elaborate in this case. So here, if this is the neutral axis and this is the C force because of the external force, this C force because of the external uh, force. Similarly, in the tension, this is the external tension caused due to the external force. Now, as you see, this C and T, they are unlike parallel force, and they are creating a couple. Now, to resist this couple, we have the internal resistance. Now, this internal resistance will be in the form of couple as well. So ultimately, this couple is due to external load and this couple is due to the internal resistance. So this couple is M and this couple is MR, and both will be same. For the beam to be in equilibrium condition, M and MR should be same. So now here we are going to find out the expression of this MR and M as well. So now in order to find out the magnitude of MR, let us again consider the elemental area dA. Again, we will consider the elemental area dA. And here we are going to find out the MR. We know that MR is the bending moment, and bending moment is force into perpendicular distance. Now, force in the elemental area is stress multiplied by area. So this becomes the force. And y is the perpendicular distance. So this y is measured from the neutral axis. So this is the y. So force into perpendicular distance, this becomes the moment of resistance of this small area or elemental area. Now we can further elaborate it. We know F is E by R into Y. So ultimately we can write this as E by R into dA into Y square. So this is the moment of resistance of a differential area. Similarly, if we want to find out total moment of resistance of the whole cross-sectional area, so we can again do so by the integration. So in the integration, the limit is yt to yc and the whole equation. So E by R into dA into Y square. So in this ER is constant, we can take this as outside, and ultimately we are left with this integral y square into dA. So you remember that this is actually the expression of moment of inertia or second moment of area. So in the course of structural mechanics lecture 10, there I have explained the integration of integral form of the moment of inertia. So here y square dA, this is actually the integral known as second moment of area, and commonly it is known as moment of inertia. So the whole integral can be converted to I. So ultimately MR becomes E by R into I. Moment of resistance is equals to E by R into I. Or in other words, we can say for the equilibrium of the section, the moment of resistance must be equals to bending moment, as I explained earlier. So ultimately, M is equals to MR is equals to E by R, or we can write this as M by I is equals to E by R. And we already know that this E by R is equals to what? F by Y. So from equation 1, we know that F by Y is equals to E by R. So now ultimately we can write the full equation. So equation, with the help of equation 1, we get M by I is equals to F by Y is equals to E by R. And this equation is known as bending equation. And this bending equation is very important for analyzing and designing the beam. So from this equation, there is one more term which we can derive, and that term is section modulus. So in the design of the beam, sometimes the dimension of beam is written in the form of section modulus. So how we can find out this section modulus? Well, from this equation 2, the maximum bending moment or maximum moment of resistance can be calculated if we consider only these two terms. So with the help of this, we can find out M is equals to F by Y. Y will be Y max, because maximum moment of resistance or maximum bending moment will occur at the topmost fiber. So Y max is the distance from neutral axis to the topmost fiber. So this becomes M is equals to F by Y mx into I. And in this, sometimes I by Y max, this I by Y max is sometimes written as Z. Now, this Z is called the section modulus. This Z is the section modulus. So generally, when we have different cross section, for example, if we have I section, we have L section, we have a rectangular section. So if we want to know which section will have a more bending capacity, so in that case, we sometimes compare those sections with the help of Z. So higher is the value of Z, higher will be the bending moment capacity of the particular section. So here I have written higher value of Z for any particular cross section, the higher the bending moment it can withstand. So for example, if we have this rectangular section, and sometimes if we have say if we have this I section, so cross-sectional area of these two may be same, but the cross-sectional shape is different. So in this case, bending, the section modulus of the I section will be higher than this rectangular section. So in that case, we can conclude that I section will have better moment, bending moment carrying capacity than the rectangular section. So this is how we compare the cross section for the uh, section modulus. So that is the theory of simple bending. So we will continue our discussion in the next part. Thank you.